just start by answering my colleague's question on cracker.
Representative DeGraff, I've been very clear that that term is not allowed. I've said it to multiple members.
I understand. I'm not going to. It just the term. I thought it came from when I was younger. I thought it came from a saltine because saltines were white. I never really understood that. But then I was
to the bill, Representative DeGraff.
Well, I would just like to explain. I think it would clarify, and then I promise I'll go on. That it was somebody who would crack a whip over somebody else, which I think is a really offensive thing to actually call somebody. Because for somebody to crack a whip over one human to crack a whip on another human is horrible beyond belief. Anyway, so that's where that term comes from.
Thank you for
I
that
understand why it would be
education lesson,
offensive.
Representative DeGraff.
But here's my problem with this bill, is this is getting just really convoluted. Because at some point, everybody has one of these characteristics. And there are no crimes. Even a crime of passion is not a crime where nobody is accused of liking somebody too much in a crime of passion. So there's no crime, there's really no crimes of love. There's no love crimes where somebody just loves it. So this entire notion and what this bill is doing is it's just further emphasizing the absurdity into which we are delving. Because no person, so if unless it's just ultimately okay to get whitey, then this bill ultimately has no meaning, because everybody has one of these characteristics. So one person attacking another person, no matter what they are, is a hate crime. And so maybe we should just unwind this a bit and go back to the crime and just recognize at one level that you are not supposed to deprive somebody else of life, liberty, or the pursuit of happiness without due process of the law. And I do appreciate a couple bills, like it's like we've discovered due process of the law with the police issue and then these other issues. And I also think we ought to maybe get back to maybe thickening the skin a little bit. At one time, we had the sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. When you teach somebody to be offended by everything, what you're teaching them is to be enslaved to everything. So if somebody can get your goat, you need to figure out a different place to put your goat. Don't just keep putting it in the same place, because human nature is that somebody is going to exploit it. When my kids would have fun and say something negative about me, I would just say, well, I get that a lot. And that kind of shuts it down. They consider that no fun and no fair on my part. But it doesn't play into the game. And what this bill does is it further encourages the population to be looking at their neighbor and figure out a way that they can be offended. Because victimhood is somehow is somehow a badge of honor at this point. What's going to happen after this is there's going to be some new group. Now it's gender identity. It was sexual orientation. Now it's gender identity. At some point that will become passé and there'll be some new group. What is it going to be? Then we have to add to it. And then we have another subclassification. Let's just get back to, if one person commits a crime against another person, it's not because they liked that person too much at the time. One thing we know about these laws, and we should have learned it over the last couple days, is if a law can be weaponized against you, it will be weaponized against you. We can see right away that these laws are weaponized against people. One person weaponizes it against another. One person says the color of their skin is wrong. It's either too dark or too light. That's a hate crime. So we are encouraging this law is further encouraging people to weaponize the law against each other. When I last looked, there were some 80-teen number of gender identities. So everybody seems to have one. If everybody has one, then everything is a hate crime. So then maybe definitely think the better way to go on this would be to purge this back, just look at whether a crime is being committed to another. How would we look at that? Is that person being deprived of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? Life, liberty, or property without due process of the law. Is that by government or is that by an individual? It doesn't really matter. The role of the government is to secure those rights, not to delineate whose victimhood is higher than another person's, because that's what this gets into. This gets into a battle of who's the biggest victim of society, so who gets to commit a crime against somebody else. This is just another example of the nanny state being a nanny and trying to appease everybody. It's going to make the problem worse. We need to dial it back. We need to get back to the basics. We need to recognize the nature of crime and stop trying to gain some faux virtue by making one crime worse than another. Let's get back to the basics and actually protect the citizens, do the role, and stop going off in the weeds like this.
Seeing no further discussion on Senate Bill 24-189, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 24-189. All those in favor say aye.